Okay, we are live. We live. How did I say it again? We live. I need to practice that again. I guess I haven't been podcasting enough. It is March 13th, 2024. It is a Wednesday at 6:40. I'm actually going to do this again the next day. Uh, why am I doing this? Why am I going on here more than 2 times a week? This is actually my third podcast this week. Uh, I have a goal. Well, I can talk to you about that real quick. We're gonna have an actual conversation about the flavor wheel. It's a little controversial, at least to me, but we are going to talk about that. But I have a goal. I'm at 56, 57 episodes, and I've been putting myself on a spending diet. For the most part, it's been going really well this month. Besides yesterday, we'll talk about that another day, perhaps. But I've been spending a lot of money on YouTube. I wouldn't say I couldn't blame it only on YouTube. This is for like the podcast, this is for media stuff and all that good stuff. This is to differentiate myself from other coffee roasters, so to speak. So I have a logic or idea of going about this, and I talked about this many episodes ago, but it's essentially creating a digital cafe to where people can consume the content. Some of it will be funny. Like, I think I'm a funny guy sometimes, right? Do you think I'm funny? But really informative stuff of the way that I think about things, and it's unique to me. But it's hopefully that you will get something from it, right? I want to be able to create more than just a transaction. A lot of times when we are in business, we tend to just want the money, right? We just want people to buy something and we thank them, right? But it has to be more than that. I know it has to be more than that because I have to be able to give people more things so they can understand where you're coming from. But also, you don't want people to feel cheated. Whenever I buy things, I want to make sure that I am in a place of where it does make sense, right? That I'm not cheating other people, that people feel value from what I'm giving them, right? So that's kind of like where I'm at right now. But like I said, go back to me spending too much money. I've been buying mics, upgrading the office where I'll be doing most of my videos, my podcast, and all that good stuff. Just bought me a nice orange chair that you've probably seen in a couple of episodes. I am upgrading. I wouldn't say upgrading my desk. It's a good, nice desk. It's a standing desk. It's 80 inches, 3 feet long, 3 feet wide. But there are a couple things that I'm not too happy about. I do have a Mac, and the Mac kind of does what it does sometimes, especially with this Mac Mini, this M1 Mac Mini. But I am updating things so my workflow can flow a lot better, so to speak. So let's go ahead and get this Izzy sparkling grapefruit. This is one of my favorite sodas. Fizzy Izzy or Izzy. I have a sparkling grapefruit. I haven't had it in a while. So I've been spending a lot of money. I got some lights, a continuous light for more videos, uh, audio stuff for podcasts. So I'll be ready to do podcasts on the road with people. Not you just won't be hearing me all the time, right? What else? So it's just been a lot of spending, just really trying to get it the way I want to, and I'm glad that I am taking my time with it. But every time I think about something, I'm ready to get it again, right? So, and then I'm gonna get more lights. And the reason why I spent some money yesterday is because I'm running too much power into this small office, and I also have like the big air fryer on too. So Wolf toaster oven. So yeah, so it's running a lot of power, and at times, a couple times a week now, it's uh it's tripping the breakers. So I got an electrician that came in yesterday. He investigated, so he's gonna finish up the work on Friday. I'm really excited about that. Grapefruit with ice. I don't think I like it as good as it just being cold. It kind of dilutes it a little bit. It's grapefruit, but this is a good grapefruit taste. What's up? Hey, Logan. What's the deal? What's up, man? What's up? This will be in. Okay. I'll be up there soon. Just give me about 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes, okay? All right. Well, why don't you watch it upstairs? Okay. Okay. Go ahead and watch it down here, but keep the volume low, okay? I guess we got bees back in the house, which is interesting. Got to find where they're at. But anyway, so I've been spending a lot of money, but I am taking it slow. I really am, but I need to slow down for real. So this month I'm giving myself a detox, kind of seeing where my bearings are. And then once we go from there, then we will go venture off to doing more things, because all this is really for you, right? Yes, it's fun for me. Don't get me wrong. It's fun to have gear, like with anything, right? But it gets to the point too where it is making a little bit more sense to what I'm trying to do. So that's why I'm trying to take my time with it. But I gave myself a goal that I won't buy any like audio type of things. I already have an eye for what I really want. It's in my list, Amazon list. Let me see. I will bring it up right now. It is called a Rode Podcaster Dual, and it helps with production of podcasts, streaming, music production, content creation, all that good stuff. So I'm looking forward to that. But I told myself to challenge myself is to just keep producing, create content. So that's why I'm on here a lot more. We'll see if I think I am going to actually, once I get to 100, I will pick it up to 3 times a week. I don't know which day that's going to be, but we'll get there. We'll talk about that later. And we'll talk about other stuff later and all that good stuff. But I do want to get into this topic. Let's give it about 10, 15 minutes. So, one of the things that we have in the coffee industry, especially from the board industry people and all that good stuff, it's called Specialty Coffee Association, SCA. I think there's another one called SCA also, but I was a part of that years ago. It's called Sports Car Club Association. When I was in college, it was a really nice thing, but I didn't like doing autocrossing because you autocross for like a minute, minute and a half, and then you work for like 45 minutes. That's a story for another day. But the SCA, they have something that's called a flavor wheel, and it's mainly to present it to coffee professionals, roasters, and all that stuff, and green buyers and tasters and cupping experts, coffee industry people, right? And they give this information out to help you to better educate your clients on what you're providing them. Of course, they have different scores and all that good stuff of how to rate a coffee and all that, right? But the thing that we're going to be talking about today is called coffee taster's flavor wheel. And it's pretty complex. I think that's one thing I don't like about it, really. It's relatively complex. And it gives you all the potential flavors of what coffee can taste like. Certain coffees, yes, you will get a lot of these flavors, as we call complex. Again, like I said, when they say complex, I use it from time to time, but when I mean complex, it's very hard to decipher what that coffee is. It's so many different flavors that we're talking about here. So, but again, this flavor wheel is very complicated because I will link it in the descriptions for you later on. But what it is it gives you flavors of coffee. So here we're gonna go ahead and read some of the things that it has on here. It says fruity, floral, sweet, nutty, chocolate, cocoa, spices. What's up, man? I know I'm doing something. Huh? Just figure it out, man. You're old enough. You can figure it out. Okay. Roasted, other, green, vegetative, sour, fermented. Okay, so those are the heavy hitters, so to speak. Me personally, I think okay. I think there's really two main categories that normal people really think about when it comes to coffee. I mean, there's variations within this, but okay. So for instance, nutty and cocoa. Okay, that's one. Chocolate, right? That's the main one. When people say like chocolate notes and all that good stuff, right? And then the other one to me is fruity. So that can be different fruits. That could be red fruit, like red cherries, strawberries. Yeah, blue. So you can have also blueberries and all that good stuff. And then and on the other extreme scale of fruity to me is like sour, which is like grapefruit, lemon, oranges, different variations of sweetness, right? And acidity and how it comes in and all that. So those are my two main categories. There are coffees on there that, but then, they have all these crazy other things. They mention chemical, papery, musty. When it talks about other roasted, they have cereal, burnt tobacco, pipe tobacco. And a lot of those flavors usually tend to come from like, um, let me see, where is it coming from? Like Indonesia, Java kind of coffees. And it's mainly because of the way they process it, like wet mill. So that actually does add an element to it. Spices. Sometimes you'll get spices in coffees too, you know. So and then also they have sweet. So they have brown sugar, vanilla, overall sweetness, sweet aromatics, and then floral. Florals like, like if you can have an actual edible flower, which to me floral is kind of weird. I get more floral in the smell, but not so much in the taste of floral. We have black tea, which to me is one of the worst indicators of coffee because I mean, okay, I'm not. This is what I mean by that. It does exist. If it does taste like tea, it does taste like that, right? But if somebody gave me a descriptor of black tea or oral tea or whatever the hell, I don't want that coffee. I can drink tea. That's don't like that. But whatever. Then you have berries. From fruity, you have berry, dry fruit. Other it goes even into more details. So it has coconut, cherry, pomegranate, pineapple, grape, blah 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 blah. Right. And of course, lemon, lime, citrus fruit, sour aromatics. And then it says citric acid, malic acid, and then alcohol fermented. So if the coffee is fermented, you kind of get those funky flavors, which I'm not really getting in this Kenyan. I'm sorry about that, but and then overripe. But this will does. Then you also have green vegetable, underripe, pea pod, fresh. Sometimes I even get tomato. I'm surprised I don't see tomato on here. Sometimes Kenyan coffees can have that deep, rich, like burnt, like you cook it really a lot, right? And you get that tomatoey type of taste. I don't like that. I don't know who does really like that. It'd be nice if it had sweetness on it, but a lot of times it doesn't. That type of acidity, right? And then you have chemicals, so you have rubber, skunky, petroleum, medicinal, salty. Sometimes you get salty, bitter, meaty, brothy. Okay, yeah, you get those sometimes. Musty, earthy, woody. Yeah, woody. But again, a lot of this stuff with the flavor wheel, what it really does is it gives you ideas or concepts of what coffee can taste like. The only issue with that at times is that some of these like flavors can be defects, you know? Like for instance, let's look on this flavor wheel, skunky, petroleum. That's not appetizing. That's not flavors that you want in a coffee. But depending on how it was actually harvested, probably a couple of ripe, unripe beans, probably a little bit of Robusta from time to time. Robusta is not good. We'll talk about that in another episode. But it's good with kind of that 20-30 split with espresso. So those are not really smoky. Smoky means, okay, so what I just said with those flavors just now, those are more so like the characteristics of that bean. It can be, or the elevation or how it was actually harvested. But now we're talking about smoky, ashy, acrid, ground roast, smoky grain malt. And that kind of comes into play when you're actually roasting coffee. So those type of elements in that particular those flavor notes is I would say more so like a roaster era, you know, or it couldn't be a roaster era. Probably they're going for that particularly because probably that's what their customer likes, So these can be good and bad depending on how you look at it, So that's the funny thing about this, just kind of looking at it and thinking this through with you guys. So green vegetable. I suck at this. Need to get better about pronouncing things. And then green vegetative. There we go. Green vegetative. We have underripe, peabod, fresh, dark green, blah 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 blah. So think about that. So like, let's say you do have let's say you accidentally actually have a green tomato. That's what they mean by that. Is not as ripe as it should be. And in that case, a lot of times that's with the roasting. So you go a little bit too light, and that coffee may have a little bit more fruit on it, but you go too light, so the flavors are not as pronounced or not as succinct together because you didn't develop it as much as you should have. Some coffees do have winey taste. A lot of Kenyans in the past, I don't know now, I'm still on that journey, did have a winey taste, fermented taste. And even winey, that's kind of vague if you think about it. There's so many different flavors of wine, right? Red wine, white wine, Pinot, blah, 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 different regions. Same thing with coffee, right? So it can get extremely technical. And the biggest thing that I have with this, or issue that I have with this, is that those are really hard to tell somebody that that's what they're tasting. You know, if you say chocolate or nutty versus fruity, then they can probably more so get there with you, right? But when you start to get even more specific and technical, that's more so what you're tasting. So again, the flavor wheel is nice, it's cool. It does try to present itself in a way to where you are kind of getting an understanding of what that coffee does taste like. But it's too specific, but then it's vague, and it doesn't account for when that roaster is giving these descriptors to you, it doesn't account for defects. It doesn't account for like roaster error or roaster flare, so to speak. It's I think what I'm trying to say is that just thinking this through and looking at this wheel and what it presents is that we have to think about this in a way to where what is the intent of this coffee? We have to start there, I think. I think that's the most important thing. What's the main intent of this coffee? Is it mostly like a mixed drink? A milk-based milk drink? And then we can go even more specific. Is it espresso based? Or is it mocha pot? Or just creamer? Because that can change the way you roast things. You can slow it down, you can speed it up, and then of course you have to test to see if it does what you think it's going to do for that particular coffee or that blend. And then of course we're talking about marketing and kind of understanding our customer and all that stuff. But I think that's really where we should get to the point to where we understand what the intent of the coffee is, right? What does this coffee what if we were to look at this out loud and present it in a way to where we're thinking about our customers and what they are planning to do with the coffee, then I think that's the best way to go about it, really, to kind of let them know is like, hey, this is what this coffee may taste like. These are some of the fruity tastes that I may get out of the coffee. These are some of the applications that will best suit this coffee. I roasted this way, slowed it down, speed it up for whatever reason, because it's best in the Hario V60. Or you should probably use a little bit more coffee here if you're trying to do a mocha pot blend, but do realize that there you are going to get a hint of a flavor of coffee, right? I think that's what we're talking about here, really. And I don't know, it's kind of weird because when I say this stuff, we're getting back to the point of, are we trying to pigeonhole or to dictate what people taste in their coffee or how they plan to use it? Because one of the biggest things that used to frighten me a little bit whenever I gave coffee to people was that I wanted to know how they thought about it, right? That's all I really cared about back in the day. I cared about what they thought about the coffee that I roasted. It was more so about me, not so much about how they wanted or was about to use the coffee. And lately, for the past couple of years, It's been really refreshing to create something. Well, I didn't create it, so to speak. Let's not get back. Let's not talk about that real. That's not what I mean. I didn't create it. I created the persona of that coffee with what it was from the get go through roasting. But lately, one thing that I have been liking quite a bit is that once I'm done with it, I'm done with it. I'm giving it off to this person and I'm letting them find their inspiration in that coffee. I know it sounds all cheesy and shit, right? But but it's not mine anymore. It's theirs, and I'm giving them a understanding of what they may taste, what they may experience. But at the end of the day, it's theirs. It's it's their product. Just like when I buy my equipment or my things. Like for instance, I had all these things that I was going to do with this desk, you know, and most of them are still there, but lately this is going to be like a production studio type of thing. I'm going to have like really good stuff here to where I can produce and create and give back to the community and everybody, right? Whoever wants this information. So I'm changing things up, right? And the people who sold this desk to me, they just sold me a nice looking, functional standing desk that looks cool. Of course, they have accessories and all that stuff, but once they sell it to you, it's out of their hands. I can take a hacksaw to this and tell them that this is the best desk to put a hacksaw or cut this desk or whatever, right? I mean, they wouldn't probably be happy about that, but I spend my money just like coffee, right? Or just like things in general. People spend their money with the intent to use it the way that they want. So I think this flavor wheel is too restrictive, even though it offers so much information, if that makes sense. So I guess my approach to this is that now that I've really truly like talked it out and kind of explained to you what it is and how to use it and all that stuff, is that I'm going to use it in a more simpler way to where we will talk about fruity coffees and then we'll talk about chocolate classic coffees. And then I'll tell you why I roasted it this way and what I may taste and let you just do what you want with it. But I do want to give you enough information to the point to where it does make sense for you to be like, oh, I got it from here. I got it from here, man. I appreciate your information. It's more so not so much of a descriptor type of thing. It is a instructional manual. And if you want to go with it, go with it. If you don't, you don't. But at least you know that you do have a map to probably get you to a place to where you probably want to go. But hey, a lot of times it's just cool to just free will it too. Just figure it out on your own. So that's what I got for you right now. Here we go. We will talk tomorrow. I'm going to go eat some food, chill with the kids, and hopefully they won't kill me. So talk to you later. Bye.